Folks, it is time, and I am finally ready to share my 2026 fantasy baseball rankings with you. And I've got the insight, details, and stats you need to know when preparing for your 2026 fantasy baseball leagues on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I'm Dominick Martino, riding solo today, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And you know what? Thank you to all of our everydayers and new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day and making us the #1 sports podcast network. You know, Matt and I are a longtime fantasy baseball analyst, and between the two of us, there is over 40 years of fantasy baseball knowledge, and we do this podcast to share it with you. Wherever you listen and or watch, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review if you like what you hear. And guys, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And all right, guys, you heard it at the top first. I've officially gotten my 2026 way too early fantasy baseball rankings somewhat together. I wouldn't say it's a finished product, but then again, is it really ever a finished product? No, I'm always tinkering with my rankings, literally, until like all drafts are done and spring training's wrapped up and opening day is, ready to go. I'm still tinkering at that time. But then again, you know what? I'm finally ready to at least share with you 10 names that I've been having a tough time ranking. And you know what? Maybe we can talk it through today together on here's the episode. So sound off in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts on these guys are. Let me know if you think I'm right, wrong, or just your fantasy baseball take on, any of these players. So let's start off with somebody interesting. Let's start off with Aaron Nola. Weird year from Nola, but then again, he's really known for been doing the even odd thing for a while, and it's just I hate to keep saying that it keeps happening to Nola, but you know what? We'll review the stats, and you guys can tell me what you think. So Aaron Nola, let's go back to where did this really kind of start? Let's go back to 2018. 2018, awesome year for Nola. 2019 was bad. 2020, good year for Nola. 2021 was bad. 2022, good year for Nola. 2023 was bad. 2025 was bad. So if we're going by that logic, Nola's due for a good year. Get caught up in those kinds of things. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say, hey, 3 out of the last 4 years, 2 out of the last 3 years, Nola's been really bad. Even in the good year in 2024, it was still a 3.5 ERA with a 3.94 FIP. If you're not familiar with FIP, it's a stat, kind of a ERA indicator, tells you where the ERA should be rather than where it was, takes in a lot of underlying stats and, kind of combines them to get that number. But I just don't like the way that, and it was a 119 whip too. So I don't like the way that Nola's been trending. Almost a career low 94 innings. Let's not count the COVID or his rookie year, and it's a career low innings for Nola last year, 94 innings, dealt with injury. We could chalk it up to that. I just don't see myself playing that game, especially when we're going to have to take Nola I wouldn't assume pretty high. I wouldn't assume at minimum he's going to be taken as an SP2. I'll tell you this. I'll probably wind up, when everything is said and done, I'll have Nola around that. I'm going to tell you guys where I have him right now. Listening to episode 4 of the 2026 rankings. I have Aaron Nola right now actually pretty low. I have him at 40. I have him at SP40. I have him right next to Dylan Cease. I think those are two pitchers that I'm going to avoid. I think Cease really depends on the landing spot, man. But Nola, if we look at all of the underlying stuff, he's still getting some chases, but everything else and is just really pointing in the wrong direction. His pitches in general You look at, the four-seam fastball, lost about a mile an hour on that. Batters hit 239 against it this year versus they hit 167 against it in 2024, so that was a huge spike. He led with the knuckle curve in 2024, made it his secondary, his second most used pitch in 2025. It got hit at a 274 clip this past season. Just all of his pitches, Nola's, were just getting rocked. I think there's room for improvement. I don't think Nola's going to have the 6 ERA he has, but I'm pretty in tune with the fantasy baseball community. And I just think Nola's going to be taken too high. I think people are still going to believe in Nola. I think he's going to be taken as a top 24 starting pitcher. And I just think it's going to come back and bite us in the butts. Let's do this. I talked about how 2 out of the last 3 years, Nola's been bad. We'll pull the average per season on that. If we combine the last 3 years, Nola, it averages out to a 4.40 ERA. That's going to be over 82 starts, 487 innings, 496 strikeouts over that time, and a 1.20 whip. So not great numbers for Nola. And like I said, if we're going to overpay for strikeouts, we can find those later. And Nola's been barely over the K per 9 the last 3 years. Just really trending in the wrong direction. For a guy like Aaron Nola, you won't find him on any of my fantasy baseball teams in 2026. So Nola's going to be an avoid for me. Let's go on to something that I'm hoping the price is going to be a little bit better on. It's Gerrit Cole of the New York Yankees. I'll throw it out there up front. I am a Yankee fan if you don't know that already about me. So there may be a little bit of a bias here. But Nola missed the whole season Cole missed the whole 2025 season, with injury. And he's projected he should be back around opening day 2026. If not, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit after that. Nola's another guy getting older, older than Aaron Nola. Cole will be 35 years old in 2026. I think there's a shot. Cole is still pretty good. I'm calling for like a mid-3s ERA. Still think he'll get over that K per 9. The whip might be the last thing to come back, so it might trend up when he first gets back. But I think he should settle down as the year goes on. It's going to be tough to give you an innings prediction. Maybe 160, 170 is what I'm hoping for Cole. I think the Yanks are going to give him, some time off, some days off, skip him here and there just to get him right. He's going to be a tough one. It's really going to depend on ADP because Cole's another guy. If he's inside of that top 24 starting pitchers, I don't think I'm going to do it. I think we could bite maybe as an SP3, SP4. That's probably where I have him ranked. I'll be honest with you. Cole is somebody that I haven't actually thrown in the rankings. I told you I had Nola at 40 for starting pitcher rankings. Gerrit Cole is just somebody that I haven't been able to find that sweet spot of where I like him and where I don't want to take any of these other guys anymore over Gerrit Cole. If I had to guess, it's starting to look like 36, 37, somewhere around that mark is where I think I'm going to slot Gerrit Cole in. It's just I don't want to overdraft him because even in his last healthy season, it wasn't perfect results from, the older Gerrit Cole. Look at some of the guys, I know Chris Sale bounced back well, but you look like a Sandy Alcantara and other guys, it's really, really dependent on, some of these guys as they get older, come back from injury. And, you kind of just got to see what he's got left. Even, when you look at like a Brandon Woodruff who has come back from multiple injuries and has been really good. So I kind of find myself saying, hey, if I play in like a 10-man, like your home league's like a 10-man league or something like that, yeah, maybe we could bite on Gerrit Cole as like an SP3, SP4. If you're playing one of those deeper leagues, 15-man, something really, really competitive, I think I'm avoiding Cole at that point because just where you're going to have to draft him, I don't know if he's going to be able to put up that kind of production that we're hoping he can. All right, if I'm gonna be able to hit all of these names I have planned for today, like we got Bubba, Chandler. We're going to talk about some Eugenio Suarez, and even Jack Caglianone. What are we doing with the Italian? Those names and more coming up next. And all right, guys, I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. And listen, folks, the NBA is back. And there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks, plus you can even combine into a same-game parlay for a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late-game push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So you're going to head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. But listen, we want to make those $5 count, so I got a bet for you real quick. Listen, Spurs down bad a little bit right now. Castle's out. Wemby's out. We're going to De'Aaron Fox. Swiper. Yes, we're going for some swiping. We're going for steals, going for threes, going for points, going for assists on De'Aaron Fox. Let's give you another quick little one off the top of the head. If he plays, I know it's a little iffy right now, Onyeka Okongwu on those Atlanta Hawks. We're going to go rebounds. We're going to go blocks. Even sneaky on him. We're going to go three-pointers too. That's if he plays. I know it's a little iffy right now, but it looks like Porzingis is going to be out. Okongwu, if he plays, I love those bets. So we're going to do all that on FanDuel, guys. Get that done today. Hey guys, real quick, just want to say thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball the #1 sports podcast. Our everydayers and new listeners, you guys are the reasons that, any of this is possible, and we officially are the #1 sports podcast network. So shout out to all of you listeners, and shout out to everyone at the network for all the hard work they do. Guys, it's just a pleasure being a part of Locked On. And, it's a pleasure to, talk to you guys about fantasy baseball each and every day. And, that's what we're going to continue to do here today, right? Let's talk Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler is somebody I'm hoping the community, and it's tough to say in a day and age like 2025, and, we're going into 2026 already almost. I hope the community's not going to be too keen on Chandler, but they're going to be. Everyone's going to be keen on Chandler. He finished the season really strong, and I just feel like he's going to rise up draft boards if he has, a good spring, which I think he'll do. He gets to practice with Skeens and the rest of them boys over there. But Chandler's last 3 starts that came gigs all at the end of September. On September 13th, Chandler started against the Nationals. He went 6 strong innings. He gave up 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 7 strikeouts. In his next start, it was against the Athletics. He went 5 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. And then after that, he went up against Atlanta. It was 5.2 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Chandler had a tough time with walks down in the minors, tough time with control down in the minors. It followed him as he came to the bigs. It was a tough, real go of it for Chandler through his first 4 career starts. But he got it really going through his last 3. I think Chandler has great upside, really, really, really good fastball. Secondary stuff is good too. You just, one of those Pittsburgh Pirates young pitchers that looks like he's going to be really good. He's 6'3", 218. I probably have him ranked too high at this point. No, actually, I don't think it's too high. I have Bubba Chandler ranked at 43. That's probably going to move up because I'm going to be honest with you. As much as I don't want to, I would probably actually, you know what? Scratch that. 43 is perfect. That's where I'm leaving Chandler. I think he'll be a nice SP4 kind of option, SP5, in some spots. Just really, really just depends on, how things work out for the young Bubba Chandler. If he looks good in spring training, he's not walking guys. The control looks like the way it did at the end of this past season, the 2025 season. I'm going to be all in on Chandler because the kid's got the talent and the stuff to do it. Let's go from one young pitcher to another. Let's talk about Eury Perez. I like Eury Perez, another kid that's got the stuff to do it, another kid with a good fastball. I mean, another kid that's a big body, 6'8", 220 for Eury Perez. He mixed bag, coming off injury, missed all of 2024. So, we got 20 starts in the season. Eury Perez did 4.25 ERA over those 20 starts, 95 innings, 105 strikeouts, 104 WHIP. The underlying stuff looked a lot better. 3.67 FIP. The stuff, as I said, looked good for Eury. It was just some tough starts, some spots where he really got rocked up. He had a tough time finishing down the stretch, right? Had a couple of bad starts. He had a 5 earned run start on August 29th and then followed that up with a 7 earned run start on September 3rd. Other than that, only one other start that was more than 5 earned runs on the past year. Had some big strikeout games. I think Eury Perez might almost turn into what's the term they use for it? Like a wide awake sleeper almost, just like, hey, he's right in front of us, and we got some fatigue with Eury Perez. I want to say that, hey, he missed a season and then he didn't, he came back and he didn't perform as elite as we thought he was going to. A kid like this that, like I mentioned, has had success in the past. And when he came up in 2023, had the 19 starts with the 3.15 ERA, 91 innings pitched, 108 strikeouts, was really good. And then, has that track record in the minors of being a strikeout monster, good control. I really think Eury Perez is somebody that, we should all be looking at. I have him ranked, once again, probably way too high. I've got Eury Perez at 34 right now. I think, that's going to either move or shake down a smidge just depending on where ADP winds up, because I don't think we're going to have to draft him that high. I think we'll be able to get him a bit later. But I will say this, guys. Get ready for it now if you're listening. Starting pitcher is not going to be fun to draft in 2026. I will say this might be one of the years where you want to get the elite talent early. Get your first 3 starting pitchers within the top 10 rounds, and then let everybody scramble in the middle, and then you could throw your darts at the end of the draft and kind of fill it out. Maybe pick between, my home leagues, we have big rosters. We do 27 man, 28 man. So I'm going to use that as a reference here because that's what's on the top of my head. So if you go 3 starting pitchers in your first 10 rounds, then maybe from rounds 11 to, 17, you take 1, and then you kind of just fill out everything there at the end. That kind of strategy, just because it's going to be real top heavy, and then we could kind of find our bottom feeders that might break out at the end, that we usually always do around here at Locked On. But Eury Perez specifically, I think he's going to wind up being a pretty good starting pitcher in 2026. Might be that late breakout that we kind of been eyes wide awake sleeper, in the sense of he's right in front of us, and we just might not be projecting it the way we should. I love Eury Perez though, so I'm projecting it that way. Let's move on. Let's talk about Cole Ragans. I think this one has more to do with injury than anything else, of why people might not rank Ragans properly. Ragans missed a lot of time last year with injury, and when he was out there, the numbers were not fantastic. But I'm not I'm not riding in too much of 13 starts from a hurt pitcher. It was a 4.67 ERA over those 13 starts for Ragans. He had 61 innings pitched, 98 strikeouts, and the whip was actually still decent at a 1.18. The FIP was a 2.50. Let's just leave it at that. Ragans took a huge step forward when he came over to Kansas City in 2024. They just picked up a few things, made him, or 2023, sorry about that. When he came over there, he just picked up a few things. They changed a few things, got that velocity up, and Ragans took off like a freight train. It was a 2.64 ERA in 2023 for 12 starts when he came over. 71 innings, 89 strikeouts. Followed that up with a full season in 2024 of a 3.14 ERA, 186 innings, 223 strikeouts of 1.14 whip. I think Ragans is a top 10 starting pitcher in 2026. I actually think I have him ranked 9th, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I got Ragans ranked 9th. I can argue that down one spot. I'll put Freddie Peralta over him if you want to at 9, but Ragans 10. I think Ragans should be drafted as an ace, and I don't think we should put much thought into it. I think it's just that he was hurt in 2025. I think he'll be fine in 2026 as a 28-year-old. He's in his prime. I think he's going to be fantastic. And before we move on and we get into the bats portion of this podcast, we got O'Neil Cruz, Eugenio Suarez, Jack Caglianone, and more coming up next. All right, folks. And once again, before we move on and we get into this, next portion of this pod, real quick, want to talk to you about my friends over at Game Time. And listen, NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team, but actually getting the tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app makes it super simple. I could even see the exact view from the seat I was going to be sitting in before I bought. You're going to know your total up front, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. And you know what? They have the zone deals going on now too. So you're going to pick the section and Game Time's going to pick the seats, and you're going to save big. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that promo code is LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Game Time today. And all right, guys, bats, let's do it. O'Neil Cruz is up first, and man, just such a disappointing year from O'Neil Cruz, man. I feel like this is another guy that we kind of just keep making excuses for over the years. Oh, it's just this. Oh, it's just that. Oh, he just has to do this. Oh, he just has to do that. And I'm getting tired of it. I'm an O'Neil Cruz owner in a dynasty league, and I will have him in 2026 for sure. So I'm being honest about the opinion. Like, I don't have a choice. I have to keep him in that league, so I'm still going to just speak to you guys how it is. I'm not super excited about it, but you know what? I'm just hoping that there's some combination of like the 2024 season and the 2025 season, maybe somewhere in the middle is what O'Neil Cruz really is. I thought there's a lot more power in this bat because he's, just one of those big baseball boys, big body at 6'7", not like super muscular or anything like that, but, just enough that I thought it would translate into more power, especially when you look at like stuff like average exit velocity. O'Neil Cruz last year, 100 percentile. Barrel percentage, 97 percentile. Hard hit percentage, 98 percentile. Bat speed, 100 percentile. Even sprint speed, the guy's in the 93rd percentile. Once again, he is 6'7", 240, O'Neil Cruz is. I just want to almost guarantee that there's a 30-40 season begging to come out of this kid. Even a 35 homer, 45 steal season, I'm not putting it out of question for O'Neil Cruz. The question is can he put the ball enough and put it past the defenders enough? to get that batting average to the point where it will let him actually, get all of this done. I don't know, man. I think O'Neil Cruz is going to be one of the biggest mystery box grabs of 2026 because there's a world, like I said, 35 homers, 40 steals, 245, 250 batting average with good runs and RBIs. I want to say like 80 and 80 because just this Pirates team, I don't expect it to be good. It's possible, definitely in the realm of outcomes of O'Neil Cruz, but then again, am I shocked if he steals 35 bags, hits 22 homers, hits 220 with 70 and 70? Wouldn't be shocked at all. I think this is a very upsidey play pick. If your roster up until the point where you're looking at taking O'Neil Cruz is safe and you need speed, because I think that's really the only guaranteed category out of O'Neil Cruz at this point in his career, I'll do it, but it's going to be a tough pick, man. I have O'Neil Cruz ranked as outfielder number 30 right now. That has him as an outfielder number 3. Not mad at it, but I'm not pushing him up too much either, even though he is only 27 years old and the breakout is very, very still much likely. It's just going to be hard to bank on it and draft O'Neil Cruz at that ceiling, which I feel like we had to do last year and maybe not so much in 2024, but it's just been a real weird go of it for O'Neil Cruz to start his career. Let's keep going though. Let's keep going. Let's talk Eugenio Suarez. I have him, on the if you watch it on YouTube, you see it. You see it on the side right there. You knew this conversation was coming. And what is the value of a guy like O'Neil Cruz who has a monster season last year? And you're saying, hey, Dom, but it says stock down. He goes back to Seattle, right? He thrived in the hot weather in Arizona. Nice park, great team. The context totally changed last year for, Eugenio Suarez, right? He goes over to Seattle. He played 53 games there this past season in 2025, had 201 at-bats, 27 runs, 9 doubles, 13 bombs, 31 RBIs. He hit 189. In Arizona this past season, I'm sorry. I was right. In Arizona this past season, 106 games, 36 home runs with a 248 batting average. I think you just go look at, some of O'Neil Cruz's. I'm still saying O'Neil Cruz. If you go look at Eugenio Suarez's seasons in Seattle, which he played 2 of there, I'm using those as the baseline. So you average the 2 of those out, right? And what does it wind up with? It winds up with about 150 games played. So 155 games played. So we'll use that as the reference. 72 runs, 27 homers, 92 RBIs, 234 batting average. That's what I'm thinking. But I think people are going to see, the 49 home runs he hit on the year with the 49 home runs with 118 RBIs and the 91 runs and the 230 batting average. And I think that's what people are going to be drafting on. I'm drafting Eugenio Suarez on, hey, he's back in Seattle. He's 34 years old. Yeah, he might hit 30 home runs, but it might be with like a 210 batting average, right? And that's not something I'm banking on. I even think there's a world where it's closer to the 2023 season and maybe we see only 25 home runs, and once again, maybe it's only a 225 for, Eugenio Suarez. The RBI should still be plentiful. So, I think the stock's down a bit, but somebody just really depends on, I can't predict ADP. I can only predict where I value these guys. I can't predict where, the market winds up. So in my eyes, I feel like Eugenio Suarez is going to be overvalued, but that does remain to be seen because, you guys could kind of just, see what I see and maybe we all temper our expectations. but I have Eugenio Suarez right now as the 8th third baseman off the board going into 2026. Let's get some Jack Caglianone talk in here. He is probably going to be the last name of the episode. The young Italian had a tough go of it, his first season. I know dealt with injuries. The funny thing is him and Nick Kurtz were, the talk of the town, and then Nick Kurtz just kind of put Caglianone to shame. But let's not forget that was an actual conversation. It was at one point who's going to be the better rookie. It was either Caglianone or it was going to be Mr. Nick Kurtz, and it wound up being Kurtz. But, we're here to talk about Caglianone. There's a world where this kid can be as good as Nick Kurtz, where it's, 40 home run power, and just good runs, RBIs on this, Royals team that I think has been, consistently adding young talent over the past few years. Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, and Caglianone himself is a part of that. Across 2 levels in the minors this past year, Caglianone played in 66 games, had 264 at-bats, 58 runs, 14 doubles, 20 homers, 72 RBIs, and he hit .337. So the power's real. I don't know if he's going to be a full-blown batting average guy, but could he be an Adam Dunn, Kyle Schwarber type of dude that has light tower power, 40-plus home run power, 100 RBIs and hits 240, 250. I think that's definitely a world that happens with Caglianone. I have Caglianone ranked as my 14th first baseman. I could see that moving up to potentially 12th with a good spring training, maybe even a little bit higher. It depends on how crazy the hype gets for a kid like Caglianone going into 2026. Love him and think he's going to be good. But guys, that's pretty much all I've got for today. So thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen today. For your second listen, go check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And also make sure you're checking out that newsletter. But guys, until next time, sorry.